Hey, aloha kako. Today is August 14th, 2025. And, Mom, I'm just going to have to take this time to talk about something that's pressing on my mind and on my heart. And to share with the world what's happening. Okay? So this so this video is about explaining the work that we do, Premier Paralegal Services and Ho'omanapono LC. For since 2011, I started Premier Paralegal Services as a sole proprietorship. It's important, so I'm gonna be talking in terms and phrases that the powers that be. I'm giving you full disclosure, as I always have, because when you come and investigate me, I've been telling you guys this for years. So Premier Paralegal Services comes as a direct result of my years of experience as a pro se litigant and my years of experience of being a paralegal, doing paralegal studies. When I was in Halava, there was Halava High Security Facility, there was no law library. And back then they had what's called a paging system. And there was no such thing as going to the law library back then in a high security facility. And the high security facility existed from 1981 to August 1991. So I was part of a crew called the Black Five. Myself, John Sims, John Allen, Terry Turner, and Terry Smith. We're known as the Black Five. And we were the only ones who were willing to stand up and change the system. Back then, there was no extensive litigation in Hawaii's prisons. In fact, when we first started, all our case law that we had to rely on was from out of state. And the judges would, or the magistrates would constantly tell us that, while the prison officials may have violated your rights, this is the first time them being charged as that, so they give them a break, right? So the entire body of jailhouse litigation primarily was started by us, the Black Five, in a high security facility. That was in 1988. April 3rd, 1988 was when I first filed my very first major litigation that eventually ended up in the United States Supreme Court, became a landmark decision called Sandin versus Connor. So I given you a background of where I come from. And so one of the things I did while I was in there, I took a paralegal course from Professional Career Development Institute, which now has been absorbed into a college in Athens, Georgia. And it was from there, from 1993 to 1995, 2 years took me to do that correspondence course, paralegal correspondence course. So I learned paralegal studies primarily through that, as well as my hands-on training when we fought to put the law library in a high security facility. And when the law library opened, I was like one of the first ones in there. I practically lived there. Everybody was like, "Hey, Dimon, you should put your mattress over there because you're always there." And Auntie Liz Kuomo'o was there. What was it? Finch's name? My wife's funny. My wife is connected to Finch, who was Finn. Yeah, Finn, who was the she was a hammer, old Irish woman, tiny ladies, little tiny like Cat Brady.
Yeah.
And fiery, just like Cat Brady. She's like on fire. She was a hammer. She never let nobody do any stupid shit when you're in the law library, right? So these are the people that was there as the law librarians for the high security facility. And it was a great time of learning. I decided that I didn't want to like just specialize in learning only criminal law or civil law. I just wanted to know what the hell is law and what is the practical application of law, because I was directly affected by the law. Hey, these guys took me to 5 days, 5 different trials, bro, in 1 week. In 1 week, bro. And ended up with 7 life sentences, 185 years loose change. That made my neck snap back. That made me realize the error of my ways and why it was so devastating to me in my life, right? So I wanted to learn about that. And I was like, okay. And you know what? I got to tell you something. One of the greatest rehabilitation tools was never given to me by the system. You know, they didn't say, here, learn this so you can become a better person. In fact, they fought against us for getting that, right? And we won. Our first injunction in federal court in December of 1988 forced them to give us direct physical access to the law library, which ended the paging system. And the paging system was crazy. They said that, oh, just tell us what you want and we'll go get it for you. And we're like, how do we know what we need? We need to be able to go in the law library to see what we need. So it was a ridiculous system. It was a system intended to stifle our access to the courts or chill our rights to the courts. So talking to all the lawyers out there, the Attorney General's office, chilling of the rights of our people is not a good thing. It's not the policy of the United States when you're talking about the First Amendment rights. Okay, so I know this because I fought it, and you know this because you know I fought it. Okay, I say that for a reason. Then in 2014, I started Ho'omanapono LLC. And the reason why I started Ho'omanapono LLC is because primarily my kumu, who I consider my kumu, Kalehao Kama'u, when I was in a high security facility with him in 1986, and later on when I got my paralegal certification. The reason why I got the certification started to begin with was OHA had donated $117 to get me started with my paralegal studies. I applied to OHA. OHA gave me $117, and that's when Kalehao Kama'u said, now that OHA has contributed to your education in the legal realm, you need to give back to the Lahui and help the Lahui. And that Ike and that Mana'o has stayed with me all these years. And I have been dedicated all these years now, all these years since 1995 when I got the certification to present date. I have been the guy in the prison system and out that has fought for our people in the realm of writing legal documents for our people. And at first, the system was against me. They tried everything they could to deter me, lock me up in a hole. They lay bogus charges on me, all that, right? But it never prevailed. It never prevailed, and I prevailed. Well, guess what? I come out now, and funny, yeah? When I'm doing the legal writing for people out here, and every legal writing that I do, at the bottom right left-hand corner of the page, I put prepared by Premier Paralegal Services. I do that for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, I've had lawyers steal my work, right? When we was doing the James Campbell fight for the Kaunoi Ohana, right? Antipolek Keopuhiwa and her family. The lawyer on the other side, one of the family members went with this other lawyer. He would steal my work and make them like that was his motion, when I'm the one that would file the motion. He ended up filing the exact same motion, exact same words, everything, right? So I do that for intellectual property reasons. I'm protecting my work. Number two is I stand by my work. I'm not afraid of the system or anybody to take issue with me doing the legal writing. Now, what makes me think that I can do legal writing for anybody? What makes me think I can do that? Well, first of all, you gotta understand that in Hawaii, like in a lot of states, there is a law prohibiting the unlawful practice of law, right? And if you allow the powers that be tell you the story, they're going to tell you that only lawyers can do that, right? Writing legal documents and all that. But that is not true. And it also is not true that whenever they try to twist it and try to make it fit their own argument and their own narrative, because they never had a problem with me doing this. I was doing this for years. The first call came in from the Attorney General's office, came from this guy who part of a name brand law firm today, and he tried to conjure up some kind of issue against me for doing this legal writing. Now, talking about legal writing now, right? And the Attorney General's office, I told them what I do. They go, okay, we have no problem with it. Boom. The thing was done within 5 minutes. And then a year or so later, again, and it's always the opposition's lawyers that get one problem with it, not with my clients. My clients have never complained about my work. Always the opposition's lawyers complain. So the next one come, and this one was kind of big because that was the Campbell Estate one. Cades and Shoots law firm. I'll put you on blast because you know you did that. They didn't go complain to the Attorney General's office saying I'm practicing law without a license. Well, it was investigated, and it was a thorough investigation. Had a full-blown investigator, ex-police officer, came over there, like, try to rattle my cage and tell me he's going to issue on subpoena and all that. I'm like, go ahead, bring it up, bro. But in the end, he fell flat on his face. The investigation ended, and they sent me an official letter saying there was no evidence, and it's the same arguments I've been using all these years is the same arguments I'm using now. So keep that in mind now, right? Twice already, Attorney General's office said there was no violation of the law, right? Because I put it all out there, right? Because what I do is Premier Paralegal Services, according to the law, Hawaii Vice Statute 605-14, it expressly states that you cannot practice law without a license in Hawaii. You cannot do that, right? But the law does not pertain to the writing of legal business documents, okay? It does not pertain to that. It does not pertain to the writing of legal or business documents. And in Hawaii, we have the plain language rule. All our laws is written in plain language, okay? Where an average everyday person can understand the language, okay? So that is important now. You gotta remember that. That's important, plain language. So you read the law, the thing tell you it doesn't pertain to legal business documents. All right. Now, how am I supposed to be able to gather the information from my clients to be able to write the legal documents? when they themselves don't fully understand what they need. So I get on my other business called Ho'omanapono LC. And in that, when I launched that business, I put it in plain language that this business is for the education, advocacy, and empowerment of Native Hawaiians. Okay? So I never hid that. It's always open all wide in the open, right? The state has full knowledge of everything I've done since 2014 in that regards. I even had my first class of kupuna went through beginners, intermediate, and advanced paralegal pro se litigation classes under the curriculum that I wrote myself called The Art of War Paralegal Pro Se Litigation Studies, right? That has been in existence since 2014. In fact, the reason why it came into existence was because of Auntie Dawn Watson. God bless Auntie Dawn Watson, who got us started in paralegal pro se litigation class. One day she just in Shanghai me, called me over there. If you know Auntie Dawn Watson, she's not a woman that you can easily say no to. She gonna tell you about yourself, right? And one thing I respect about Auntie Dawn Watson, and why I'm adamant to help, especially Mana Wahine in our Lahui, 439 love you, love you. I love my wife. We got these numbers, but anyway, is because it is the women in our Lahui who is the ones most hungry and the ones most open to learning legal writing and learn to defend themselves as pro se litigants.
They don't have the attention of a housewife.
They don't have the attention of a housewife. I've had their husbands come and the husband sitting on the side playing video games on a cell phone while the Wahinis is learning. So shout out to all our women in the Lahui. You are the shining star and the way forward. You are our hoku. You are our way forward for all people, because you have proven, I have seen it firsthand, that it is the women that learn it fast and they take it there. Right now, Nani Peterson, wow, she's on fire. She's going. The very first person to do a trial in Olelo, Hawaii. In Hawaii. She did it. We were there. We witnessed it. Right? So, that's what went go down. That's how it started with Auntie Dawn Watson. You should teach classes out at Punalu'u, Queen Liliuokalani Center in Punalu'u, and that was where our classes was. And the graduating class, when it was like 20 kupuna wahine, was at my ex-wife's father's home, Uncle Black Ho'uhuli's garage. That's where the graduation took place. And it was appropriate to take place there because Uncle Black Ho'uhuli was involved in the movement way back in the 70s. He's part of a couple of cases that went to federal court challenging Department of Homelands and whatnot, right? So I come from a long line of political activism, both with my mom and with the people that I'm surrounded with. So now we come to present day, right? I'm doing it still, right? I go back, parole violation a couple times, same thing, right? I do it inside, I do it outside. And it's always been there, front and center. But now, what we have, the investigator, nice guy, this guy is a nice guy, right? He's the investigator for the Attorney General's office. I have absolutely no problem with this guy. when he came to see me and started the investigation, I wanted to see where his heart was at. And he came at me humble and respectful. So I was like, okay, I'll be humble and respectful to you too. And I opened up my books to him. I didn't hold nothing back. I let him see everything that I had. And then he wanted to talk to a client of mine who was going through the classes and whatnot, and this family in Wamanalo. We're working with them, and they're taking classes. And what I gave him was my beginner's curriculum. But by the time he went talk to them, they're already like in the advanced or the intermediate. They're in the intermediate level of my classes.
I don't know. Now they're teaching Richard and they're taking over.
They're just about beginning the advanced classes of what we do, because we're already learning how to do trials. What's that?
It's a phone call.
Who's that?
Spam.
Okay.
Let me see.
Hold on.